Welcome to The Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Joe Biden's team is already researching potential 2024 rivals. That list has some interesting names, including Fox host Tucker Carlson. We're hearing whispers that Liz Cheney will soon lose her leadership role. A rising star congresswoman is now eyeing her job. Windham, New Hampshire may be a small town, but all eyes are on it as it goes through a forensic audit. Coca-Cola Wokeness has come to a halt after intense backlash over its racial quota plan. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. More Republicans are murmuring Representative Liz Cheney will soon lose her leadership role in the House. Cheney currently serves as the conference chair, the third highest position in the House Republican leadership. But while GOP lawmakers are working to unify the Republican conference to win back the chamber, Cheney has been a disruptor. She never stops her attacks on the former president and is alienating herself from the conference. She even appears to be closer to her Democrat colleagues than Republican. In off-air remarks caught on a hot mic, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy told a Fox and Friends host Tuesday that he thinks Cheney's got a real problem and he had it with her.
And she's got real problems. I've had it with her. It's, I've lost confidence. Well, someone just has to bring emotion, but I assume that will probably take place.
At the same time, a formidable congresswoman is eyeing Cheney's job. Representative Elise Stefanik is reportedly making calls and building support among her colleagues to become the next conference chair. Stefanik was first elected to the House in 2014 at the age of 30. Representing New York's 21st Congressional District, she was the youngest woman ever elected to Congress at the time. Since then, Stefanik has served on the House Armed Services Committee and the House Intelligence Committee, where she firmly defended Donald Trump during his first impeachment. Her defense of Trump earned her widespread praise from the Republicans, including the president himself. On Wednesday, Trump endorsed Stefanik in a new statement. He said, "Elise Stefanik is a far superior choice than Cheney. Elise is a tough and smart communicator, and she has my complete and total endorsement for GOP conference chair." Trump isn't the only one calling for Stefanik to replace Cheney. Several GOP lawmakers have come out to support Stefanik for her challenge of the seat, including the number 2 Republican, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Scalise's communication director, Lauren Fine, said House Republicans need to be solely focused on taking back the House in 2022 and fight against Speaker Pelosi and President Biden's radical socialist agenda. Elise Stefanik is strongly committed to doing that. On the same day Trump endorsed Stefanik, Facebook's Supreme Court, its oversight board, decided to uphold the ban of former President Donald Trump's account. The board claimed to be an independent body that rules in an impartial manner, even though Facebook pays everyone on the board. The board decision did not come as a surprise. Mike Davis, president of the Internet Accountability Project, said, "Facebook is essentially acting as the prosecutor, defender, judge, juror, appellate court, and executioner. No one company should have the power to effectively block a president from communicating with the American people." But that's what the big tech companies do today. Twitter permanently suspended President Trump's account in January. YouTube banned the former president that same month, but has kept open the possibility of allowing him to regain access. During a briefing on Wednesday afternoon, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki wouldn't comment specifically on Facebook board's decision, but she broadly discussed Biden's view on the issue around, quote, misinformation and disinformation. The White House is officially advocating big tech censorship on a wide range of subjects.
The president's view is that the major platforms have a responsibility related to the health and safety of all Americans to stop amplifying untrustworthy content, disinformation and misinformation, especially related to COVID-19, vaccinations, and elections.
White House and Democrats loudly called out Facebook to ban Trump permanently. What's Trump's reaction? In a new statement from his desk, the former president said, "Free speech has been taken away from the President of the United States because the radical left lunatics are afraid of the truth. But the truth will come out anyway, bigger and stronger than ever before." You should know that many things are like a double-edged sword. Republicans have powerfully reaffirmed they plan to take back the Congress. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said that if Facebook can ban President Trump, all conservative voices could be next. McCarthy promises that if the party retakes the House in 2022, they will rein in the big tech power over our speech. While Republicans are focused on retaking Congress in 2022, Democrats seem to have a longer vision. Multiple sources reported just weeks after inauguration, Biden's political operations began researching potential 2024 opponents. The Democrat National Committee is compiling research on more than 20 potential Republican presidential contenders. That list includes some of the most prominent GOP leaders. Besides former President Donald Trump, the list names Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Senators Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Rick Scott, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley. But with Trump proving experience in politics isn't a requirement for the GOP, Biden's research group also identified some unconventional rivals, such as Fox News host Tucker Carlson, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, and Eye Opener host Michael Lewis. Just kidding. It's funny they decided to investigate Carlson and Lindell so early in the process. It actually shows Democrats themselves aren't confident that Americans are buying their narrative. The left and mainstream media framed Carlson as a white supremacist and Lindell as someone who hasn't recovered from his past drug addiction. Yet, they can still emerge as future presidents? Well, sure they can. It only proves the left's narrative around them is a big lie. Biden's team should focus more on the present. That research effort is likely a waste of time once former President Trump decides to make a third White House bid. Biden's radical policies are turning Americans away regardless who his presidential contender would be. Government subsidies for childcare in Biden's $1.8 trillion human infrastructure plan, or the American Families Plan, could have unintended consequences. Biden proposes spending $225 billion on child care and claims low and middle income families would pay no more than 7% for high-quality childcare. But some experts say that by directly subsidizing families to pay for childcare, it could raise costs in the long term and subsidies won't be able to keep pace. Jonathan Bidlack from the R Street Institute said Biden's subsidies may help families in the short term, but over the medium and long term, results could be similar to what we've seen in the education space. So, what's happening to the education space, you may be asking? Well, today in America, a college education is extremely expensive, and state tuition at a public four-year school increased from $3,800 in 1990 to more than $10,000 in 2020, almost tripled after adjusting for inflation. At the University of Chicago, for example, 2021 tuition and fees are more than $60,000. For a four-year undergraduate degree, you would pay more than $300,000. Now, are you confident you would be earning that back anytime soon after you graduated? So, what has made college tuition skyrocket? Josh Mitchell from the Wall Street Journal said that what happened over the years is the burden for paying for college has shifted from the state taxpayers to families, thanks to student loans and grants from the federal government. Well, the government also gave colleges greater incentive to raise their costs after students had a bigger voucher to pay for their education. Instead of competing on price, schools learned that they could actually charge more, not less, if they could convince their students they are prestigious. This further incentivized schools to invest more on programs and facilities to attract more students, especially out-of-state and foreign students, and to keep increasing costs. Dr. Greg Gordon at the Federal Reserve's Bank of Richmond has studied what has made college tuition prices rise so rapidly. Gordon found increases in federal financial aid were responsible for the 54% of the increase in average college tuition between 1987 and 2010. All this information is quite eye-opening, pun intended. Now back to Biden's childcare subsidies. Bidlack said it's pretty reasonable to compare it with the massive subsidies for college tuition in the form of government grants and loans. Will it drive childcare services to become more prestigious and less affordable? From what we've learned in college education, it's very likely. Besides childcare, the American Families Plan will also provide free universal preschool and free college. We know Democrats have already hijacked American colleges and universities with their left-wing propaganda. With free preschool, it's a legit concern that left-wing indoctrination of children would start even earlier. Now, before we continue, if you like our program, please hit the like and subscribe button. It'll help more people see our video. And if you want to support the Eye Opener, check out our mugs that are displayed just below the video. And today, I want to make a special toast to Talbert's mom, who just received her mug that matters. Now, I speak for everyone that's part of the Eye Opener live chat family when I say thank you for bringing your positive energy to the chat room every night. I also want to say thank you for purchasing a mug that matters. Your support is greatly appreciated. So everyone, let's grab our mug that matters and let's toast to Talbert's mom. You are truly a wonderful person. Salute. In the town of Windham, New Hampshire, a hand count 3 weeks after November 3rd discovered vote discrepancies in the state's representative race. 4 Windham Republicans running for the House each received about 300 more votes than tabulated by the AccuVote counting machines. Governor Chris Sununu last month signed legislation for a forensic audit. There are now suspicions that the vote discrepancy in the House race could mean the presidential election, which used the same voting counting machines, was tainted as well. Corey Lewandowski, former 2016 primary campaign manager for Trump, is from Windham. He spoke about this development today.
I think it would be fair that if we find out there were major discrepancies in the small town of Windham, a town of about 14,000 people with vote totals off, at least in one ballot box, by almost 10%, we should potentially do, in my opinion, an analysis in a number of other towns to see if that also occurred. Let's make sure we get the totals right. If we're recounting the governor's race, which clearly is not going to be overturned by the results in the town of Windham, and we're recounting the U.S. Senate race, which is also not going to be overturned by the results that would occur in Windham, why aren't we recounting the presidential race?
Former President Trump is also looking closely at the town's audit results. In a new statement from this morning, Trump said, "The spirit for transparency and justice is being displayed all over the country by media outlets which do not represent fake news. People are watching in droves as these patriots work tirelessly to reveal the real facts of the most tainted and corrupt election in American history. Congratulations, Windham. Look forward to seeing the results." While Democratic-run cities are carrying on defunding the police, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signs into law bonuses for law enforcement. He's giving each police officer, firefighter, EMT, and paramedic in the state a $1,000 bonus. At a press conference Wednesday ahead of the National Police Week, DeSantis thanked first responders who didn't have the luxury of working at home during the pandemic.
Well, the people that wear the uniform, they didn't have that luxury. Okay, they were out there every single day. Our police, our fire, our EMTs, and they had to work more than they ever have, not just to deal with protecting us when the pandemic hit, but then obviously how police were treated last year in many parts of the country was a total disgrace.
Florida is taking an unapologetic stand for the rule of law and public safety. Earlier in April, DeSantis also signed an anti-rioting bill. The law criminalizes doxing and requires rioters who damage memorials or monuments to pay the restoration costs. Some critics claim law enforcement will use the law to crack down on peaceful protest. Kara Gross, legislative director of the American Civil Liberties Union, said that under the new law, anyone engaging in violent conduct can be arrested and charged with third-degree felony and face up to 5 years in prison. Gross argues the whole point of the act is to implement fear. But Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd disagrees. Judd said police can readily tell the difference between a riot and a protest.
Peaceful protest, we encourage, and more riot. We can tell the difference. And I'll guarantee you that you'll be able to tell the difference if you come here and riot. If you come here and protest peacefully, we encourage that.
It's very easy to tell what's a riot. It's also easy to tell that the left's anti-racism narrative is in fact racist. Coca-Cola wokeness has come to a halt after mounting criticism. The pause comes after former general counsel, the diversity plan's architect Bradley Gayton, abruptly resigned last month, serving less than a year on the job. In January, Gayton unveiled his diversity quota policy. Any law firm seeking to do business with Coca-Cola has to have at least 30% of the time billed from, quote, diverse attorneys and at least half of the time from black attorneys. Gaeton's plan immediately received intense backlash. Some questioned whether it violated the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits employers from treating people differently based on their race. But don't blame Gaeton alone for Coca-Cola's wokeness. In February, an internal whistleblower disclosed slides from the company's, quote, confronting racism training course. One of the slides explains what it means to be less white. The training material explains that being white is to be oppressive, arrogant, ignorant, and apathetic. Another slide says, try to be less white. The Confronting Racism course is offered by LinkedIn Education. The training claims that the effort to be less white has to start early, as children as young as 3 are already taught being white is superior. Is this the reason Biden wants free universal preschool for our toddlers? Drinking Coke isn't doing anything good for your health, if not the opposite. They're ready to poison our children's minds as well. The absurdity of Coca-Cola could not be more obvious. I'm going to continue boycotting their products, and I implore you to do the same. Mooresville is now the first city in Indiana to declare itself a sanctuary town for First and Second Amendment rights. The city council took a stand Tuesday night in a 4-1 vote. Councilman Shane Williams pushed the city to follow in the footsteps of Montana, Arizona, and Arkansas to protect the town's freedom of speech and rights to bear arms. The First Amendment sanctuary legislation opposes government actions that limit religious liberty and promote cancel culture, especially in the name of the pandemic. Second Amendment sanctuary proposal opposes any public funds being used to restrict the constitutional guarantee to keep and bear arms. The fight for freedom doesn't come free. Some members on the council criticize the vote as grandstanding. Williams pushed back, saying, if it's grandstanding, I'm happy to grandstand. I take your rights seriously, I take my oath seriously, and I have no problem reaffirming that oath through a resolution. After the vote, Williams said in a statement, I was shocked at how much arguing there was by some council members regarding the resolution supporting your First and Second Amendment rights. It was an easy decision for me and consistent with the oath we take. But Mooresville won't find itself alone in reclaiming the constitutional rights for its residents. Currently, 1/3 of Indiana's counties have similar resolutions on the books. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on YouMaker, Gab, and Parler. Don't forget, please sign up to the email list so we can stay in contact with each other. I want to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.